Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You are listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, and sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And we're going to talk about PR, public relations. Should you have one as a small business, as a contracting business, HVAC, plumbing, electrical? What's the purpose in having a PR firm or PR company working with your business? A lot of times people think about PR as in bad stuff. Like my service technician ran over someone, worst case scenario, obviously.
Wow, that's drastic.
I mean, I have a friend of mine who went through a bad situation with PR. I mean, with public like influence and just happening in the world. And so he reached out to me. He's like, any PR people? Like, he was reaching out to everybody he knew. And this happened several years back. But I was thinking to myself at that time, like, why wait until something bad happens to get in touch with a PR firm and develop that relationship? And are there things that can be done pre bad situation, like pre somebody falling off of a roof or causing a major accident, or you have like a mold and mildew issue in somebody's house and they went viral on social media sharing it about you? Is there something that you should have? Like, is there a relationship that you should be building with the PR firm? And if so, why? And that led honestly, that led me down a rabbit hole of what can they do on the positive side of things pre, negative thing happening. And it's pretty wild, the things that I learned from that. And so I'm excited to talk to Heather about that today.
Well, on the digital side, you guys all see videos and things go viral, right? Having somebody where you have a relationship with that, let's say something goes viral that you don't want it to go viral about your company. Maybe one of your employees took a video of your other employee cussing someone out or something, right? Like, oh, I'm going to get this on film. And just having a place where you can go and talk to someone that knows how to navigate the waters of public relations and media, I think is super important. And that way you can hopefully keep your what should be a good reputation intact and continue to build your business that way. So the community looks at you like a leader and not just one of those contracting companies they catch on 2020.
Yeah, that too. I didn't even go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, I'm excited to talk to Heather Ripley with RipleyPR. And before I forget, and just so we don't skip over this or anything throughout the show, she has an awesome book out. It's called Next Level Now. And we'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. But yeah, buckle up and be ready to take some notes here.
Are you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
Hey, Heather. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
You. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, kind of what you got going on.
Yeah. My background is heavy in marketing for about 20 years now. 12, 13 years ago, I started my career in home service, if you will. I started working for Clockwork Home Services in Florida and represented the 3 franchise brands, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, 1 Hour Heating and Air, and Mr. Sparky. And that's where I really fell in love with working with contractors, learned a lot about their needs, just became super passionate about the industry. And then in 2013, I started RipleyPR, an agency that focuses on skilled trades and works with everyone from home service contractors to commercial construction companies and engineers and architects and anyone in the building trades. So we do a lot, but a lot of our focus is on the home service industry.
So you got hooked into the trades just like everybody. We all kind of fall into the trades. Nobody grows up and be like, I want to be a trades guy or trades gal.
Right.
And we fall in and it's like, it sucks us in and we can't ever get out. It's like a vacuum.
Yeah. Well, I work blue collar. My dad was an automotive mechanic when I was growing up. So I'm kind of used to that world.
Awesome. So what from starting at Clockwork in the 3 franchises there, what made you believe that there was a place in the market for a PR firm to help contractors, builders, architects, and the construction trades, if you will?
At Clockwork, I quickly realized how powerful PR was, not only to share people's stories and sell a franchise concept, but I got to know these contractors and realize that they're missing a huge opportunity. Most contractors that I've worked with over the years are very smart people. They're really savvy when it comes to marketing. And a lot of them like to stand out in their market. They like the flashy trucks. They understand billboards, door hangers, and all of that. And they understand the importance of marketing daily to make the phone ring. But they were missing an opportunity for PR and just becoming that source for the media to talk about them and to be that credible expert when something big is going on and they need somebody to talk to. And PR is more valuable than paid media. It's more trustworthy when someone in a home sees a journalist or reporter talking about that company. It's more trustworthy and credible. And I just saw an opportunity to teach these guys how to leverage PR because it was kind of, and it still is really the Wild West as far as, the contractors that are using it in their market are really standing out and doing things differently than everybody else.
Can you, for the people who don't really know what PR is or what it entails, can you explain a little bit of that?
I can. Yeah. So I like to compare advertising, branding, marketing, and PR. They're all related. Advertising is paid media. So you control 100% of the message. You control where it is, what placement you have, how big your logo is. You control everything. Marketing is kind of like everything you do that has your logo on it or your brand or your perception. It's kind of all encompassing. PR is earned media. You may be on TV, you may be on the radio, but you're not paying for that coverage. It's harder to get because to do that, you have to be doing some kind of public announcement that's educational, non-promotional. You have to kind of have that balance of non-promotional. But it's perception of your company and changing that perception in your market. So PR can be anything from your messaging to client or to potential clients on social media. It could be a video that you post. It could be responses to reviews online. It can be a lot of different things, but ultimately it's going to lead to earned media coverage and those TV reporters or newspaper reporters seeking you out for comment. And then branding is all of those things together, and who your brand is in your market. So they kind of all go together, but PR is a very specialized niche of marketing.
So what do you think about what do you think about the people who are, or is this a way of creating PR? Like it looks like a PR article, but it's actually a paid ad.
Yeah, our clients do get those opportunities for advertorials.
Yeah.
And they can work. I think it depends on the type of media outlet that you are working with. And we're seeing a lot more of that because, as you know, the media world is shrinking. people are paying for news less because they can find it easily online. So we're seeing that when we evaluate those opportunities, but they're not the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it the same? Is it it almost feels, I mean, it devalues the article, in my opinion. If you figure out that this is a paid article versus a, you know, an edited article that someone came up with because someone did some amazing work, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's, now I feel bad, like almost like I was taken advantage of, like, all right, this whole publication is completely useless to me now because it's nothing but a sponsorship ads being paid.
It is less valuable and less credible for sure.
Well, and you can blame marketing agencies for demeaning
ruin everything.
Because honestly, there's companies out there literally in their, like, you know, you see it on their website, their package, right? Press release every month. And I'm like,
yeah,
really? Every month?
Now I have
you're
to
gonna
come
have
up with
something,
something
you're
every month.
gonna have something worthy every month that isn't just stuffed with a bunch of keywords so you can try to rank a little higher on the search engines. But
Heather, how do you come up with PR? Because, like, for me, thinking about things that I could create a press release from, I can't think of things like that every month. But I know that I have some friends who are in the PR world, and that's exactly what I told her. And I was like, there's no way I could come up with that kind of stuff. And she's like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? I was like, oh, I didn't think about any of that stuff.
Yeah. So, you really have to look at it a little bit differently. So one thing that we always try to do is we try to be a source for the media, meaning we have to consider what the media wants. Newspapers want to sell ads, sell newspapers. TV reporters need to sell commercials, so they need viewers. So you have to try to put on their hat when you're thinking of a story that's going to be of interest to them. Mm-hmm. Short answer is we don't have a shortage of ideas. We've been doing this, so long that we know, hey, it's March and this is an HVAC company. We need to talk about the importance of spring tune-ups, spring maintenance. Those things kind of happen, and they're not really evergreen stories, but they're seasonal stories, and they can be a good story for media if you tell it in the right way. Other clients we have partner with charitable organizations, and so we know that those things need to be announced, but they need to be announced in a non-self-serving kind of way.
That's the problem that I run into, because it's like, I don't want a pat on my back. And that's what it feels like. It's like,
I'll pat you.
I know you will, Josh. I appreciate that. But there's a lot of times, like we did, like Leukemia Lymphoma Society, we're big proponents in that, and the Georgia Police Canine Foundation, and all these things that we spend a lot of money and time and effort on. But it feels like, okay, we want to do that because we want to do that, not because we want a pat on the back. And so then whenever you talk to someone, they're like, well, why didn't you highlight that you did X, Y, and Z? And it's like, oh, I kind of feel dirty if I do that. Like, that's not why I did this.
Yeah. So think about it this way. So if you have a company and you're called ABC Home Service, and you issue a press release that says ABC Home Service donates $2,000 to Georgia Canine Association. But if you say Georgia Canine Association receives $2,000 from ABC Home Service, then it's a little bit more interesting. But the reason we do it is kind of twofold. It's going to help you recruit, because people want to work for a company giving back. They want to feel good about the company. But also you're inspiring other companies out there or other people to donate to that organization who probably can't afford a PR agency on their own and doesn't have the awareness maybe to get the donations that they need to do good work. So it's not self-serving if you can do it in the right way.
Well, I can attest. So when I was back running a branch, one of the first things we did, we did TV ads, and it was for both branches, but it was to help get our branch off the ground. And so they came in and shot the TV commercial. And then later that fall, our manufacturer had a furnace giveaway for a veteran. It was through American Standard and Train, I think. And so because I met the reporter and did a little bit on the commercial side, it was one of those things like, and this is just the marketing brand. I'm like, man, what a great story for TV, especially for like a 2-minute spot. So I like texted this guy and I said, hey, we're doing this. This guy's got, he's a 20-year vet. He's got all this stuff. His furnace literally was broken and couldn't pay for it, all this type of stuff. And it turned into them coming out and telling a story about his service to the military and to the country. And then what we did for him was secondary. And then honestly, what happened after that is because we gave a good story to that reporter reached out 2 more times because the weather the next year was, I think we had really, really cold winter, really hot summer. And he reached out 2 different times because we were a good interview to discuss things to do, things not to do, and stuff like that, which created this just regular PR momentum, if you will, for us. So I can definitely attest to how powerful that stuff is if you guys start getting into that world and you start giving tips and advice to your local community, because just giving back, even if they don't hire you and you just give back and you teach one homeowner something they did not know, that saves them some money. I mean, that stuff is valuable, and it's really valuable. It makes you feel good to give back that way too. And I think that's where PR really has a great place. Like if you're a company, like if you're just starting out, may not be the best thing for you to focus on initially, but as you want to grow and get to the point where you want both potential employees, your market and stuff to start understanding that you guys do good work, you give great service. How do we tell people that we do these things without, like Tersh said, sitting here and patting ourselves on the back?
We do all right work. I mean, I wouldn't say good. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the truck, it's all right.
Yeah. True. Heather, how large should we be? Like, at what point should we be looking at using a firm like an agency like yours?
Yeah, I tell people from day one, but keep in mind, PR doesn't have to be an ongoing every day of the year thing. So
good point.
If you decide to open your door or add a service, you can do a PR campaign that lasts 4 weeks. So you do a press release, we tell the media, you get some interviews, you put those interviews out on social media, you leverage them, and then feed off of that for a few more months. And then when you have another thing to announce, you do it again. So it doesn't have to be ongoing. Now we do.
You're not locked into a monthly retainer for all of your programs, is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
And it doesn't make sense to do that for everybody. And I think that that's one difference. A lot of PR agencies have a minimum that you have to hit and all of this. We try to work with each person, each company to figure out what they need and then create a package around them. Now, a lot of our clients are retainers. They have HVAC, they have plumbing and electrical. Some of them have some other services too, and it makes sense to do something every month and kind of rotate those services. But for a lot of companies, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's interesting to think about, because everybody thinks when you open a business that leads, right? Leads. That's the only thing that is on people's mind. But that reputation, and we talk about that too on the digital side, of more on the marketing side of, because even just getting online reviews can be like a lot of companies just still, even today in 2022, don't understand the importance of having other people tell your story of what you do, how you do it, the fact that you're good at what you do, you showed up on time, all this stuff, and getting spots on. I mean, it's one of those things, it's like ingrained in our head. When somebody's on TV, especially on the news, regardless of what you think of the news, right? Usually the local news, everybody still trusts. Like, you're a trusted source of information, and you can really leverage that in a lot of ways. Especially a lot of times they'll give you the clip or whatever, then you can, leverage it on all your different social channels and stuff like that. So there's a lot of really good stuff that you can do after the fact too, that to kind of keep that momentum and that snowball. Tersh, I know you don't know what snow is, but that snowball growing, so it becomes a bigger thing, and you can leverage that with maybe some stuff online to really facilitate growth in a fast and efficient manner.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about, so you created a book, right? And you told us before it took a little while, and the reason I asked that question is because books, Church and I always go back and like usually it's him. He loves Audible, and he sends me recommendations all the time, which I get like partially through, and then I stop because I want to implement what I learned, and then it takes me a few weeks, and then I get back into the book. But so kind of what, I guess, was there a reason that, you know, you had all these ideas, you wanted to put them down in a format that kind of, you know, because books leave a legacy. Is there a reason that you really wanted to get that stuff down and get it out to contractors?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my experience in PR and home service could more greatly benefit more people and more companies if I created a book. Over the years, I've worked with hundreds of contractors. Some of them, like we talked about, are those projects that kind of come and go. Some of them have been retainers, but I just feel like I have a unique set of past experiences that can benefit more people. And I wanted to be able to somehow reach the masses and help more companies. And I do believe that there's a lot of stuff that smaller home service businesses can do on their own. And then once they get to a bigger size, they need an expert. You know, PR is such a focused niche piece of marketing that most people don't understand. And I kind of wanted to share more and help more companies out. And I felt like creating this book would do that. So, you know, it's really a toolkit, if you will, teaching contractors what PR is, because I feel like 99% of them still don't understand it. And the 1% that does are really standing out and dominating their markets. So I felt like this would give people an opportunity to test it out, use it more, leverage it. And, you know, of course that helps my agency, but I want to help more contractors.
Should we as a contractor have a book?
That's a loaded question. How do you answer that one? Church, you should have a book.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't have a book.
Yeah, you should.
What about podcasting? Because I know that you have sent us some people for podcasting. What is that? Does that fit into the contractor side of things, as far as being a guest on shows or even having your own podcast?
Yeah, and that's an interesting question that you asked, because a lot of companies hire a PR agency for different reasons. Some of them have hired a PR agency because they felt like their company was them and they wanted to retire in 5 years, and they were afraid that if they handed the company down to their son, it wouldn't be worth anything.
Good point.
So we've actually worked with a company for 9 years now that's had that happen. The father wanted the son to own the company and kind of position him as the expert in the market. So we've done that. Another company wanted to sell. It's someone that you know, Mike Agliaro. We worked with him since 2013 for Gold Medal. And I knew initially that he wanted to build the company. He wanted to sell it. And so that was the strategy with Gold Medal, was to really get that name out on a national level, not just in the market that he served. So podcasts made sense for Mike. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. We have another client in California that wants to strategically buy up other companies. So he wanted to share the fact that he's looking for a specific type of company. So for that person, national media attention does help. So
can you go into that last bit, because there's a lot of buying and selling. So, you know, you don't have to go into details about that client, but what does something like that look like if somebody either A, wants to sell, or B, wants to buy, to get the word out in a way that's like, that isn't sending a letter to all your competitors type of thing? Like, how do you get the word out in a way that's a little more formal than that?
So twofold answer. The first answer is, if this person wants to buy other companies, this person has a very specific type of company he wants. He wants the owner to stay on and run the business because their team, the technicians love them, the team loves him. He just can't get his business past a certain size. He's not good at growing the business, but really good at running the business. So he wants to buy the company, keep that person involved and run it, but not own it anymore. So national media kind of talking to that contractor who's struggling a little bit and letting them know that there's an option out there. The other answer, as far as acquisitions go, from Mike's standpoint and from other clients we've had over the years that wanted to sell, Blue Frog Plumbing and Drain was a client that hired us to sell. So what we did with both of them is we positioned the brand as a growing, credible, really solid household name in the markets they serve, and get them national media coverage that makes them more valuable to the buyer, and makes the company worth more money because they have this history of PR coverage that is valuable.
How much of that history do you think it would take? Do you think it's like a year, or like they need 5 years of that? Or
for Mike, I can't remember when he sold gold medal to Horizon. I think it was maybe 2018, 2017. So that took a few years, but he was waiting for the right deal, right situation. Blue Frog was maybe 6 months and they were acquired. So it can vary. Today
it's like three weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's the money. Let me have your company. Have you seen that side of the PR pick up over the last 2-3 years since I guess since home services really, I mean, it's been exploding, but it really took off in 2020 when COVID started and everybody started staying home more and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, we're seeing a lot more private equity companies buying up groups. We see that, and then they contact us to handle their family of brands PR. A lot of them don't want to advertise the fact that they're buying.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
They're just too busy and can't handle all the leads right now. That could change down the road if we have another economic downturn. But your goals as a company owner can show you how you need PR. Basically, you probably do need PR, but if your goal is to sell, if your goal is to retire and leave a legacy business, if your goal is to buy up other companies, or if you're just wanting to grow, the PR strategy needs to take that into consideration because it will vary depending on what your goal is.
So Tersh, you got to start making yourself a national brand now.
Oh yeah.
That way you can get those 10 remote locations.
I don't know about podcasting though. I got to figure that part of it out. I don't know anything about podcasting.
Yeah. Have you seen it? Have you, with any of the PR stuff, have you seen more of a turn to people like wanting to, from the public relations side, get on like certain podcasts and stuff? Have you seen that in your
Definitely
space?
In the B2B space. I mentioned that we represent a lot of B2B companies in the home service space. So those technology companies, for instance, coaching companies, they do want podcast interviews. It's the same in construction. We represent several construction tech companies that do different things for contractors. And they want those podcast interviews because they want to get in front of that general contractor or commercial contractor or whatever. So yeah, the niche podcasts are absolutely something that PR clients want.
That makes sense.
Awesome. Well, Heather, where can people learn if they want to have a conversation with someone on your team about what that looks like and what different packages and things you guys have? Where should they go?
Yeah, the easiest thing is visit RipleyPR.com, click on Contact Us. You can call me or email me. My email is hripley@RipleyPR.com. And I'm willing and available to talk to anybody at any time. I'd like to have a conversation to see if PR is a good fit for the contractor, or maybe it's something that they have a marketing person that can do some stuff in-house. I'll work with them. One thing I do want to mention real quick is at the very beginning of the show, you mentioned that building a relationship with the PR agency is important in the event that you could have a crisis someday.
Yeah.
I would say more importantly, it's having a relationship with your local media, because if you are seen in a positive light to your media outlets, they're less likely to cover a negative story. And we have seen that happen where they just kind of ignore something that was brought to their attention because they like you. So
that's a really interesting point, actually.
Yeah. So I would say that's more important, and a PR agency can help you do that. But it's really good to have that relationship.
That's a good point, Heather. And I meant to bring that up, and I didn't even think about it throughout this whole conversation. But yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it is. I mean, for me, it's kind of an ego thing too. But whenever you get that phone call and they're like, "Hey, we know that you're an expert in X, Y, and Z. Would you mind coming and talk to us about this?" Well, sure. I'd love to come talk to you about that. But at the same time, if they like you as a person, then they're less likely to run that negative article or that negative ad, which is a great point. I didn't even think about that aspect of it. So
the prevention of something, by having a positive image. Because
how much time does that take, though, as a business owner? Like, do you, because that's what I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, like, this is going to take a lot of time to build up these relationships and PR stuff.
Well, one of the first things that a media outlet's going to do if they do hear a negative story, they're going to Google you and see what else people are saying about you. And if all they find is positive press, they're probably not going to cover it. Quick example, Peyton Manning, whether you liked him or not, when he had anything negative happen, very few outlets talked about it for very long. So it's kind of like that. If they can Google you and see a bunch of positive stories about charitable giving and all this stuff out there, they're less likely to cover you, even if they don't know you.
Sweet. Thank you, Heather. Do you have anything else, Josh?
No, okay, that was great.
Cool. We appreciate you coming on and sharing with us, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to Heather. We put all of your information in the show notes and in the chat area also. So with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful and safe week. And thank you again, Heather, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.